Hey, welcome to my first record. I'm David Britto. I'm a music journalist based in Bombay. And on my first record, I talk to artists about their first releases, whether it's an EP or an album. And today we're going to be talking about Bombay pop rock band The Color Compound's debut full-length album, From Where We Stand, which released in 2014. And I'm joined by vocalist-guitarist from the band, Bradley Tellis, right now. Hey Brad, man, how are you doing? And thanks for joining me.
Hey man, thanks for having me. I saw the first episode. I really like what you're doing. It's a pleasure to chat with you.
What's been up, man, during quarantine, and how you've been keeping busy?
Yeah. It's been a little bit hard for me. I mean, all of us are a lot more fortunate than most of the other people, you know. But it's been, in the beginning it was a little bit hard because a lot of the way I work depends on how I feel. So I was struggling a little bit in the beginning, but over time I feel like I've been a little more productive, sort of got into a routine which helps a lot, particularly with me.
For those who don't know, the Color Compound also consists of vocalist-guitarist Rohan Mazumdar, bassist Adil Kurwa, and drummer Aditya Ashok.
Yes.
So Brad, man, take me to From Where We Stand in the beginning, because I remember when the album dropped in 2014, everyone was like, finally it's out. So was it a long labor of putting it together?
It was actually. Initially, we were supposed to put out the album with Universal. At that time, they had this thing called Contraband that was in the works, and we were sort of the first band, I think, that was to be signed to this label. But I think the plans they had at that time and the parties that were involved, it didn't quite materialize. So there was a lot of like waiting around to figure out like what's happening, you know. And in that time, I think we wrote 3 or 4 songs that eventually made it to the album. So a lot of people don't know about that. And we finally ended up putting it out on our own. No disrespect to Universal or anything like that. It didn't pan out the way it was supposed to pan out. Their intentions were in the right place, but unfortunately it just took a long time. And finally we ended up putting it out ourselves, and in the process wrote a lot of new material that also made it to the album. So overall it ended up being I would think a good period of time leading up to the release. So
What you guys had to your advantage, I mean, going in, is that the front band is split into 2, with you and Rohan both sharing vocal duties, of course, which is an added advantage. So how did that work? I mean, how did deciding who sings on what song come about?
Yeah, so before the Color Compound, Rohan and me used to perform as an acoustic duo, and at that time we were called Hollow Bodies, just because we used to play 2 acoustic guitars and sing. And we did a couple of shows in Bombay. I remember we did one show in Bangalore at Opus. So we kind of got the ball rolling in terms of writing original material, and then we finally figured, you know, let's put a band together. And Aditya, Rohan and me went to the same college, St. Xavier's. So that's when we kind of met, and Adil knew Aditya. So that was that link. And I remember, I think it was Malhar, I'm not sure, after Malhar, one evening we all hung out for the first time, post Malhar, and Rohan and me kind of played Adil and Aditya some songs that we had been writing, and they were like, man, let's put this together and let's start a band. And I think that's where it started.
Either is better, but I guess I make you, and I guess that you make me.
The album opens with You Make Me, which immediately sets the tone for the record, because the entire record is filled with pop melodies and really good chord arrangements and stuff. So I know Rohan's touched upon this song about saying that it's about contrasts in people.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about it?
Yeah, so the reason why I told you about how we started writing was usually the 4 of us are in a room and we write a song together, you know. It's not like someone writes a full song and then kind of brings it to the room with everyone in. So You Make Me was one of those songs where Rohan and me kind of had a verse and a chorus down, I remember he used to write lyrics in this book, or like I think it was a poem. You Make Me was initially a poem. Rohan might be able to confirm. And I had this riff, the riff that runs over the verse, and it sort of fit perfectly. And so we had the verse and the chorus, and that's when we sort of took it to the boys and we were like, let's work on it from here. And I think we kind of jammed it out a bit, and we added a bridge. That's when the bridge was when all four of us were together. And most of the lyrics are written by Rohan. It just sort of comes naturally to him, and I kind of like help him with it. All of us kind of playing to our strengths, so to speak, and he's really good at writing lyric. Yeah, and the song speaks about how I need to be myself for you to be yourself.
Think it's time that you rearrange.
Third track on the record is Rearrange, which I know has gone through the workshop a couple of times, because there was the version when there was a guitar solo, and then the final version, of course, is a totally different entity on its own with violin parts as well. So talk about the evolution of that song from where it started.
Nice.
And
I didn't think you would know that. Yeah. So that's one of those songs that just like it went through a whole bunch of different versions. Initially, the whole song was in. Sorry.
I'm saying, the title is also apt because it was rearranged quite a lot.
Yeah, nice. I didn't think about that. Yeah, when we first wrote it, I think it was in 4/4, and it had this, like you said, it had this crazy solo, and I don't consider myself an insane or good guitar player. I'm more about like putting down parts and catering to the song. But yeah, it kind of went through a whole bunch of different phases, and I think finally what we settled on we were really happy with. Again, it's one of those songs that speaks about how sometimes you need to kind of stop and think about what you're doing and kind of look at yourself in the mirror, and it's introspective. Rohan will have a lot to say about that, considering he writes most of the lyric. But yeah, I think what really that's one of the darker songs on the darker, like a little more minor than the other songs, and it's the three of us that sing together, which really I think sets it aside from most of the other songs on the album where there's a lot of three-part harmony happening. So Rohan and Aditya bring a lot to that song. Although I am the one that sang on it. It was the main vocal. But yeah, it's gone through a whole bunch of different versions. And like you said, it's been rearranged many times. But I think we were happy with the final result of what came out.
If I could turn back time.
The record moves to Turn Back Time, which became a live staple, and of course a crowd pleaser, and people sing along at gigs and stuff. Why do you think people connected to that song so much?
I don't know, to be honest. Like, it's like you hear about this a lot. You put out when you're listening to other artists and listening to them speak about their work. You never know what's gonna be well received, or which one's gonna be the single. But I think Turn Back Time, a lot of people can relate to. It's about how times were simpler when you were a kid, and like You Make Me, that song, Rohan and me kind of had an idea for the verse, and I think we tried a bunch of different choruses, but finally settled on the one that we did. And I could be wrong, but Reese was in the band for a bit. I think just before we released the album, he did a couple of gigs with us, and I could be wrong. Maybe the boys will confirm, but I think he had something to do with that chorus in terms of the chords. I could be wrong, but I feel like he contributed to that. Yeah, it's one of those songs that kind of wrote itself, and those are the best sometimes. Yeah. Like I said, like with You Make Me and Turn Back Time, I had a riff, and it kind of kind of sat really well with what Rohan had in terms of a melody idea, and it just panned out beautifully. And we added, I think at the jam we added that little breakdown bass solo part where Adil shines, yeah. But yeah, it's till today, like a lot of people, whenever we play a set, that's the song they want, that's the song they're looking forward to. I don't know why they connect with it more than the others. I guess the melody and the lyrics, they really go well together, so maybe that's why.
Porcelain people with porcelain smiles, and we'll be falling to pieces 'cause we.
Then we have Porcelain People, which is the only song of the record to have a music video attached to it.
Yeah.
What do you remember from that shoot, man? It's quite a cool video also. And tell me about that experience.
Yeah, so a really good friend of ours, Rahul Dias, was kind enough to offer to do a video for us. And I think, I'm not sure why we picked that song. I think maybe he liked it and he had a concept for the video. And we kind of went with what he had in mind. Like we trusted him, and it turned out pretty good. Again, it's one of those songs that speaks about how you put up a front when you first meet someone, and then over time that sort of, it comes down. Not to say that what's finally revealed is good or bad. It's just that it's different from what was first, initially represented or showcased. That song came out of Adil's bass line. I distinctly remember we were at a rehearsal one day, and he played this really high line up on the bass, and I was like, whoa, what's that? And he's like, oh, just something. So like, keep playing that. And I tried to figure out like a riff that kind of went with what he was playing, and then Aditya immediately jumped on, and I think it's one of the only songs that TCC has that's kind of straight. You know what I mean? It's not
yeah.
All the other ones are a little bit like, more got the snare on the off, but this one's like straight. We tried the chorus was actually from another idea, and it kind of just like fit together. Yeah. Again, a simple song. It's a lot of people like that one as well. I like it. I really like it. Whenever we play it in the set, I kind of look forward to playing it.
I can see brighter days.
Brighter Days, I remember the outro being something that we worked on a lot. So like we need to have this section that's kind of like uplifting in the end, where the song changes. Man, I can't even remember the lyrics to half the songs. It's really fun. It's really funny because when we play songs or we play a set after a long time, it's like we have to go back to learning the songs. But after a few jams, it comes. It's like muscle memory, so it comes easily. But yeah, I can't remember too much about the writing process for Brighter Days, but I remember the outro and the line I put down for the outro. Obviously, now when you listen back, you think you could do a lot of things differently. But it's a nice song. I'm glad it's part of the album.
You guys don't play as often as you guys used to.
Yeah.
How have things been with the band? Have you all ever sat down to talk about writing any new material and stuff?
In fact, it's funny that you say that, because we actually, in Feb, just before the lockdown, the four of us took some time out and we went to Goa, to my place in Goa, and we took a bunch of gear just to get the writing process started again. We don't have any clear-cut plan or anything. We just wanted to, since it's been so long, we wanted to try and get that ball rolling again, the creating, writing, just spending time together. And since we were all there, we also decided to do a gig at this place called Hideaway. It was a really good trip. We got some writing done, and I don't know, hopefully when this lockdown is done, we might get back together and sort of flesh out those ideas. Let's see what happens.
What are your thoughts on the record now? It's been 6 years. The songs still sound fresh as when they did come out, and which is quite a nice thing for a record to have that time span over time to last So, looking back on the project, I mean, how do you feel about it? And talk to me about that.
Yeah, so I really like it. I think the simplicity of from where we stand is something that really carries it. You know, it's not overly complex. It's simple melodies. It's not crazy chords. It's something that you can sing along to. Definitely, like over a period of time, you grow. So there are certain things that when you look back in retrospect, you think maybe I shouldn't have done that. I feel like, but that's like sonically, and that's like a production kind of angle. I really love it. I think it's a really good piece of work that we put out, and hopefully we can create some more nice albums in the future, music that people want to listen to. So let's see. I really like it. I think it's a nice piece of work.
Awesome, man. Thanks for the time, Brad, and I'm looking forward to the new music.
Cheers, bro. Thanks for having me. Stay safe.